a blur of vision here and there. But we got to continue to run the plays that we run and try to execute the things we want to make it successful in the field on our own.
One of the things that it looks like you're starting to get going a little bit better is the running game. That hasn't worked with is that put more on BJ's shoulders or was it?
Yeah, probably inconsistencies. Two of the games we rushed for 200 yards, and the other two games we haven't been nearly as productive for a couple of reasons, probably. But that was part of the drive, the first drive of the game last week at Ball State. Partly the weather. The wind was about 25 miles an hour that day, but we wanted to take a little bit off of it, let them turn around and hand the ball off and say, let's go vertically at them and see if we can do it a little bit. And so, at some point you get a breather back there. As much as we do in the passing game, and then some of the either-or choice runs he does, he's got to make a decision every snap. You need to take that breath. So, coach did a good job of talking to the offensive line and the backs and saying, hey, let's take some pressure off this guy. And that's going to be something that's going to be important in this game because he'll be coming. I can promise you that.
Speaking of,
he's a quarterback that seems to be able to handle that.
You know what? As he's matured, he's gotten better. He can take a deep breath now and forget about the last play. He still has that gene in him that wants to go, and you got to take a deep breath and relax. But for the most part this year, I would give him credit. He's been able to refocus on the next play, even after a big scramble or whatever may have happened.
Speaking of the running game, what have you seen on film that makes you think that you can establish a running game against Florida State?
Well, nobody's done a great job establishing one this year. It's going to be a hunt and peck, or you got to find a niche. But hopefully with the variety of runs we have and the variations we can run, the variety of ways we can run the ball, we can find something that kind of clicks. They've given up about roughly 40, 50 yards rushing a game. Clemson had a little bit more, but in the 4-game average, their numbers are pretty good. We've studied Clemson game pretty hard. Clemson had some success against them. It wasn't like they just went up and down the field, but they had some success. So we've got to find the thing that's kind of groove that night and try to exploit it.
It's like each week you're trying to find some creative ways to use Lindsey. Element of your offense.
He's a guy that has the speed, obviously, the speed factor. And last week, we were able to get him out of the backfield on some, screen game and get him underneath and get him to the second level. And with that speed, just besides handing the ball, obviously, at the tailback spot, you always want to find places to get him to the open field. And he's done a nice job of picking things up. And I think the first 2 years we've been here, being a slot receiver has helped him in those situations because he feels more comfortable catching the ball now too.
Does the FSU defensive line, their front seven, change how you go into this game?
Change, no, but you try to take from your menu of things you do. You try to pick certain things that will help your linemen out, because it's going to be a matchup problem. They're pretty good up front, so you have to find blocking schemes and ways that maybe you can use to help your guys out, angles, whatever it may be, because it's not going to be consistently just knocking off the ball 4 yards. Nobody's going to do that to them. So you have to hunt and peck a little bit and find the right things.
Does the offensive production you guys did last week, does that give you any confidence to work off of heading into this game?
Yeah, you always feel better about yourself when you have a good game. And, really, you take 2 weeks ago, we had 330 yards and you had those many turnovers. You take so many, opportunities away. We have the ability to move the ball. I think we'll have the ability to move the ball. It's just the consistency of it. And this week we have to be patient because it's not going to be a steady flow of 8+5 plays. It's a good defense, so we'll have to be patient and we'll have to be multiple in the way we try to attack them because you're not just going to line up one way and run the ball or throw the ball against Florida State's defense.
What do you think you have some keys you think you need the guys to do to offensively move the ball?
Well, I think that you got to stay out of minus yards plays. They're pretty good at it. You have to stay within the chain, so you have manageable third downs and manageable second down calls. I think you have to, like I said, give them some variety of looks, make them think a little bit, and still run your offense. You're going to win some, lose some battles, so to speak. And you have to try to highlight your best players. You got to try to get them in a position where you can get them in space and see if they can make some plays.
This is going to sound worse than it's meant, but in many ways it's your job to do this. But how do you lose to Rutgers and Ball State and then convince kids that they can beat Florida State?
I think what you continue to do is you continue to look at yourself and where you're playing, how well you're playing, how are we getting better. We talked about the run game. Are we getting better in the run game? Are we getting better on third down? Things like that, because it's tough to see, and obviously you don't want to lose a game, but you have to continually kind of play with blinders on. And if a player sees himself getting better, as a unit sees himself getting better, their confidence level still is good and still continues to grow. It's when they see themselves not getting better individually that they get down or discouraged. As long as they can see the productivity go up and they see themselves getting better, you still have them. And like I said, this game is more, like you said, continue to improve the individual and the group, and the good things are going to happen for us, and that's how you have to approach it.
I know it was 3 years ago, you weren't here. Can you take anything out of the last time USF played FSU?
I don't think so, because there's a lot of people that aren't here that were on both teams. It was at the end of the Coach Bowden's era, that it's a whole different Florida State team. This is a different group of guys now than they had that year. I remember watching those teams on TV. This is a team that's been recruited for about 4 years, because when Coach Fisher came in, he kind of took over all the recruiting things when he took over as the head coach in waiting. And they've been recruiting a certain style of player, and it's now paying dividends for them. This is a very talented football team we're getting ready to play now. So it's a great challenge, but it's also a great opportunity, and that's how you got to look at it, because we played a pretty good Notre Dame team last year. We played a pretty good Clemson team 2 years ago. I don't know what the result's going to be, but we've been in this situation before, and we talked about 2 years ago. Our first year here in Miami was like the top 10 defense we played in that year. Our kids have seen some good defenses. It's not our first rodeo, so to speak, but it's going to be a great challenge. But I think it's a great opportunity to find out where we're at. We do some things pretty well on offense. We're going to find out if we're ready to match up with the big boys. We're going to have some matchups I worry about, but you know what? We got some matchups I like too. So we're going to go out and play.
Todd, you talked about third down. What was about BJ's decision making on third down, especially in the second half, and just how you thought about the way you played there?
Well, our percentages are pretty good, so I'm trying to think back. I'm got dementia right now. I'm trying to think back to those plays.
It's good if you've already put the game behind you.
What I thought in that game was, with some of the pressures and some of the scramble plays, he made some his eyes were very good. As he came out of the play, his eyes were up. We had a couple of guys on some of the scramble plays do a good job. We had one or two early we didn't do a good job on the scramble drill. But I thought there was a couple of those plays I remember he made that he found open receivers on the move.
The plays where that throw to Terrence, where he's darting back to inside his 10-yard line at one point. Is that normal for you now to see that from him?
Well, unfortunately, there's some pluses to it. There's some minuses. Like I told him this week, that's not going to work. It's not going to work this week, my man.
The speed will catch him there.
Yeah, bro. But you want it. You can't take that out of his game, but you have to manage it, if you so to speak. It's the best way to express it.
What do you make of the fact that so many of this program's biggest wins have been on the road and not really here? Now you have this game this week.
Yeah. I haven't been here for a lot of those. I've been in a couple of those wins on the road. But I think it's just the matchup and how it goes. I don't think it's home or away, per se. We haven't had one of those games really here. Miami last year was the only one since we've been here at home, so it hasn't been like we've had 5 of those opportunities, at home. So,
would be one reason. You don't play them.
So just looking forward to the opportunity Saturday night and go play the best we can.
All right.